overlook it, but it's actually just...
Cool. And positions are set perfect. So, spawning down here in the lower left corner of the map, it's the Red Terran playing for Team StarCraft Ascension. It's either Gigantator or Gigantator. I don't know which, but it's an awesome name.
And his opponent spawning up here in the upper left-hand corner as the blue Zerg pieces. It is Complexitiy's Rise.
Will he rise to the occasion today and all kill? I can't even finish that sentence. It's just so darn corny.
So corny. So
But this is an interesting first map. I mean, okay, it's Terran versus Zerg. This begs late game strategies, but more importantly, with this huge map, it's going to be really easy for both players to get multiple bases. I mean, Zerg, it's Zerg first off, they're going to take every base they can, but the Terran, you can lift off, float across the map, you got all these extra chokes, but you don't even have to worry about that, because once you start taking these further away bases down in the fourth location, you just build a planetary and all your troubles are no more.
it is one of the super cool things about this map is I love what it does with the expand path, because the natural is basically always like it's the natural expand, you just kind of take that one, but your third base can vary quite a bit, and I have seen Terrans sometimes go for in these positions this kind of middle forward location and just planetary it immediately, because it provides such a nice attack opportunity. You can move out and you move from your base to directly in your opponent's face almost instantly.
Yeah, and I do want to point, Rise kind of sending the Overlord Scout to the right, wants to catch anything he can early on, and does send a drone scout out to our Terran player. Now, he does poke around the command center, which kind of doesn't let him harass this building SCV, which is kind of what you always want to do, as Terran, the slight disadvantage of building, just a little bit, itty bitty.
Well, he is going to be really happy to get in there and see the gas timings, knowing that he's not going to be facing any super early and Hellion pressure, because that is one thing I have seen do very, very well on this map. In fact, I believe it was the GSL finals we saw on this map. Like, there were like 35 worker kills or something outrageous when the Hellions got in to really do their work, as MMA, as I recall, went just crazy with them.
Oh, and give me one sec. I do have to change that to Zerg, not Protoss. Thank you for pointing that out to me, chat. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see, yeah, there we go. It's just a slightly delayed command center, barracks first, a lot safer to do. You don't want to get, if you go to CC first, you're really vulnerable to any sort of early Zergling harassment or whatever, but, Rise playing it kind of safe, got that early hatchery, got the early spawning pool, but right now not really in a position to really hurt SCA that badly.
Yeah, and so we're just going to be kind of waiting to see. There is an immediate gas taken by Gigantor. In fact, two gases, and so Gigantor. I'm just going to call him Gigantor.
Yeah, Gigantor is easier to say. It's that extra Tatar that's in there, but this will most likely just lead to a mech play. I mean, it's pretty typical of two gas. You can of course always try and change it up, go Marine tank, but I mean, early Hellions, getting those Thors out, having a tank line, it's the reason mech is so popular versus Zerg is because it's effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this kind of map, I really feel like mech, I don't know, like, it's kind of weird to say, but there are times when mech on a large map is really your only option, just because if you don't go and kill them with the single push, you're going to be so vulnerable to any kind of later counterattack and just constant harassment and run-bys, that even if you have the Marine tank army that's a little bit faster than a mech army, if you can't kill them with that single attack, you'll eventually find yourself whittled back down to a disadvantage, even if it's a pretty successful attack. So I do think that going for a mech play on this map would be a pretty smart decision if he has the control to pull it off.
Now, of course, the disadvantage of going mech is the mobility is severely limited. It's really easy for Mutalisks to get in there and get some harass off, just as easy as it is for Hellions to get in the drone line, as we do see the reactor coming down.
Yeah, so getting the slightly delayed Hellions out, not deciding to go for that as his first play, going for the gasless expand as the first option. Zergling does sneak by, actually, and will actually see this building reactor. And
oh, wow.
In fact, it's all the way inside.
Sees the second factory wall. So that
really...
Yeah, that guarantees, we're going to not see any sort of Banshee this early, because the gas course is very difficult to sustain cloaked Banshees, but, we got that other factory. We'll see what he chooses to do with it.
I really feel like this gives the whole play away. I mean, you can practically guarantee coming off of this that there's going to be Blue Flame Hellions coming out, as there's, well... Actually, okay, yeah, never mind. There's the, I thought that was a building barracks. No, he's just floating the barracks over to create the tech lab. And so he's going to be able to just make huge, huge numbers of Blue Flame Hellions and try to go for that massive drone roast style. But if you know that that's coming, you can immediately just wall in the front, get a couple queens, and won't do that much damage.
Yeah, the worker count not too different right now. Rise not going for an early third or anything, but he does have a heck of a lot of queens out, Senex, and Hellions are going to have a hard time pushing right past them. He's got 6 queens out on the map, and I think actually 6 queens do block off this ramp with the addition of that supply depot.
I think that you're right, actually. Yeah, if you line them up perfectly on hold position, I don't think anything can sneak through there. And there it is, the Blue Flame research underway, the starport as well. So this is in fact going to be very, very aggressive two-blaze play coming out of Gigantor, as he's going to immediately follow this up probably with Cloak Banshees, either that or a drop ship to, if he's thwarted,
Oh,
bypass everything.
and that was a little cool thing that just happened. Gigantor using the splash from attacking his own Hellion to finish off that creep tumor, but of course there's 3 more. 4 more, another 3 queens just waiting to put down more, so not a big deal, but he does want to try and limit the creep spread right now. And
Ooh,
oh, do you see
there it
what is in
is.
production right now, Senex?
It's the medevac. Yup, he knows that it's pretty easy. Well, not really easy, but when you're scouted like that, your opponent will just defend at the front. And so, trying to just bypass that entire problem. There are already roaches on the field, though, and so there will be that kind of mobile response unit that
Yeah,
can
this
come and deal with it
is
if it's noticed.
this is the very deadly and risky response to this. Because he didn't get Banshees out and because he doesn't have siege tanks, he doesn't have anything to defend against roach pushes. A couple Marines, a bunker, Hellions don't do that much. You really need those beefier units, but Gigantor does have a large Hellion count, so might just be able to force some extra splash damage to make up that difference.
This is a pretty aggressive play coming out of Rise as well, in that he still hasn't taken his third base, only just now sending out the drone, and has also made himself 16 more Zerglings. So he is definitely going to be putting pressure on at the front. I do think that with this wall and it won't quite be able to work. He might be able to snipe some ICVs though.
Yeah, the Roaches don't quite have speed. He will definitely pick off a couple units here. He doesn't want to lose those Marines. He needs them for the bunker. Oh no. And Hellions, of course, trying to do what they can, but they don't do that much damage. And Rise taking a third while this is going on. That the supply depot will fall, just narrowly.
Most of the roaches get away as well, and now I have to wonder if Rise is going to understand what this Viking means, because this Viking is moving out and it's starting to clear out the attack path for that medevac to be able to drop the Blue Flame Hellions, and also the medevac itself was revealed at the front, and so I do think that it should be pretty clear that he needs to be worried about that. There is already Creep Tumor getting vision as well, and the Spire, when that finishes, should shut down any drop play pretty well.
Yeah, and addition of a couple Mutalisks will stop any medevacs dead in their tracks, but looking back at Gigantor's base, I mean, he's got double armories on the way, he's got another command center, but look at his production. It's non-existent. He's just now throwing up a couple extra factories, but, you know, it's really easy to get overwhelmed early on.
Well, until a moment ago, his supply was actually above his opponent's, but right now 12 Mutalisks are on the way.
Oh
And
gosh.
this is actually terrifying, because there is the engineering bay done. There's not a single missile turret on the entire field, though. Taking a quick look at the units tab, there are 2 Marines, or the entire anti-air force, with the support of that one Viking. And so Bluefin Hellions did land, didn't really do any damage. I got sent out pretty easily. And I mean, the Thors won't be out for a while.
Yeah, and here's the reveal of the Mutalisk. Don't even care about the medevac. Oh, turning around, gonna snipe that off.
Just kidding. Do care about the medevac.
Well, I mean, he really doesn't need to, because again, looking at home, we got missile turrets being put down out of desperation, just now being created, scouting those Mutalisks, but Thors are a little ways off, and there's no extra tech labs, this command center is left unattended, and Gigantor trying to get in past these queens, but it's just not going to happen. And oh my goodness, losing so many Hellions to those Mutalisks, it's rather unfortunate. Look at this resource loss tab, guys. I mean, ugh.
Now, the one thing that isn't going quite as well for Rise is that because he did go for this very Mutalisk heavy play, he spent a ton of money in getting out those high-tech units and high-gas units, and is only just now really saturating his third base. So he's economically not that far ahead of his opponent. He has 74 drones, but can't utilize all of them just because he doesn't have the additional mineral patches that he
Oh,
needs.
but look at the main of Gigantor if you want to talk about not being able to utilize minerals. This is way too oversaturated. He
Oh
really,
man,
he
yeah,
needs
that
to get out
really
with that
is.
third, and he's not going to be able to with these Mutalisks roaming around the map. I mean, he can land the command center there, sure, but he doesn't have mobile anti-air. He's got 3 Thors coming out soon, but if those Thors are out of position, he might just lose the main. So this is kind of a tricky, risky, I need a third, how do I best handle a situation?
Well, and because all those Thors got forced, right now we see 13 roaches in production, and that's just the perfect response. Really, in order to deal with roaches cost efficiently, you have to have siege tanks. It's just non-optional to
Yeah,
have that splash, or you'll be overrun. And Thors, they deal pretty decent damage, but not in the numbers that you need.
Yeah, a couple siege tanks are already here, but siege mode is not even halfway complete, and those roaches on mutalisks and zerglings. Oh, we got a bit of 1-1-1 from the zerg, as it were, coming across the field.
And he's massing up in the middle of the map, and right now Rise is basically maxed out. He also continuing to work on the upgrades, shutting down any harassment which is attempting to move through, except a couple of Hellions do sneak through.
Ooh, and this long distance mining line of the SCVs is a little bit risky as we have that push coming around, and Rise is nearly maxed. And unfortunately, our Terran player is just so far behind in supply. These extra missile turrets will do no good. There are, of course, no planetary either, and I'm really scared here, Senex.
This attack is hitting right as siege tech is done, and so these tanks will be sieged up, ready to go. And this, I don't think that this is actually going to work anymore. The timing's been missed by just a little bit. However, okay, wow,
it does force a lift.
Really scary for a moment. It was almost like
but here come the mutalisks. Some nice volleys from these Thors. The missile turret aiding, but there's too many roaches here taking out that ground army. However, most of these mutalisks will fall before the day is over thanks to that missile turret. That well-placed missile turret, but 2 Thors go down. A third, maybe? Question mark. It's so low. It does survive, though. And that was a huge investment from Rise to dump that army into that. I mean, almost sacrificing. He only forced a lift. He picked off a couple SCVs, a couple Thors, but no real concrete damage done. And with these tanks all sieged up, there's no way for him to push into this again, especially without that air support.
Yeah, we'll need to see what he wants to do because he remaxed on roaches and now has a very large army, almost actually at max supply yet again. He's also setting himself up for a huge arc. If he decides to push into this, though, I'm worried it's not going to work out for him.
But there are so many siege tanks, as we stated before, and these roaches are just getting slugged apart from afar. Picking up a couple siege tanks, but for the loss of about half of those roaches.
Oh, this is a good decision, though, trying to send it around into the main. Not committing, though.
And the tanks can't move. If those tanks move, the roaches will come in, as they're doing right now, just pushing up into the middle of the siege line. And Gigantator in some trouble.
Tanks, but
this is going to send him off. However, we do have some harass from these blue flame Hellions beautifully into this 4th base, but there's not a lot of drones here, so he's not going to pick off too much. However, there are 66 workers to the 52 of our Terran player. And losing a couple drones like this, nothing to really wince at. Going in for the 3rd. Now, there's a lot of drones here. If these Hellions can get some good volleys off, this is the sort of damage he wants to do. Get away from the spine crawlers.
All those drones are running away. Nicely lined up, but it looks like, yeah, going to be blocked off and killed.
They were pulled right into the Queen Senex, and that was really unfortunate because that was perfect for the Hellions. But look at this creep spread. Look at the Zerglings. Everything's swarming up here.
Oh my god. This is catastrophe right now going into the 3rd base. All of these Zerglings and Roaches just running into mass Blue Flame Hellions and Siege Tanks.
But he does push through them and gets into the mineral line.
Yeah, at least a decent number of Zerglings, but it's going to be at the expense of basically his entire army.
Yeah, quite a few SCVs were picked off during that. I mean, and it was for the cost of Zerglings, cheap, expendable units. And
yeah, wow, like most of the forces, as we can see right here, just now unsieging, moving out from the main, just really getting caught out of position.
It's hard to make that choice, though, because look, we got another flank already set up. Rise just constantly remaxing. And Gigantator, he just doesn't have the production to keep up with this. He does clean this up, though, one more time, but look at his base. 4 factories. I mean, double armory, he needs more factories. He needs a barracks. He needs something to create some support for these siege tanks. Because as we see, the roaches are just moving up into them.
Right now, Rise is just continuing to lay on the aggression to make sure that his opponent can really... I don't think the Gigantor has been above about 120 supply this entire game. And while Rise is constantly losing units, taking a quick look at the units lost tab, he's trading inefficiently against this. He's doing it often enough that his opponent can't build up the death ball he wants.
Yeah, but again, Rise is throwing expendable units at our Terran player. While, look at this, we got a Greater Spire on the way, we got the tech on the way, whereas our Terran player is a little bit behind. And without that 3rd base, his main should be nearly mined out by now. Look at all these SCVs, unfortunately. Without the 3rd base, I think our Terran player is just going to fall further and further behind.
Yeah, definitely without that 3rd base, that's a critical loss. But really, there's no feasible way for him to try to move in and secure it as
soon as
slowly leapfrogging tanks out to just try to take his own base back.
And Senex, this command center is going to burn down. He could have repaired it. He hasn't been paying attention, though. A little unfortunate. That supply depot is also down, so we may see some Zerglings just run right into the base. And the command center is still burning. I don't think we're gonna see repair. SCV's kind of being pulled ish. GG.
In fact, yeah, that's just gonna force the